Welcome to our channel. Today, we delve into the shadowy world of organized crime, focusing on some of the deadliest mafia bosses who are still active in 2024. First up, Michael Manuso. Ever heard of him? This man is infamous for his cold-blooded murder of a woman who had faithfully served him for years. Manuso's story is one of ruthless ambition and calculated brutality. Known as Mickey Scars, he rose through the ranks of the Bonanno family, using his cunning and violent tendencies to climb to the top. After serving a decade in prison for the second-degree murder of his wife, Manuso emerged even more hardened and power-hungry, quickly reasserting his dominance within the Mafia world. Next, we introduce you to Semian Movich, often described by law enforcement as the most dangerous mobster in the world. Movich, a Ukrainian native, has a criminal career spanning decades. His activities include arms trafficking, contract murders, human trafficking, and running international prostitution rings. Movich is a modern-day mafia boss who has seamlessly merged traditional criminal enterprises with the complexities of global finance. His reach into the corporate world is both impressive and terrifying, using companies as fronts for massive money laundering operations. Despite being on the FBI's 10 most wanted list, Movich operates with near impunity, believed to be protected by significant political connections within the Kremlin. These leaders exemplify the ongoing threat posed by organized crime, where violence, manipulation, and strategic cunning are tools of the trade. Stay tuned as we continue to explore the dark underbelly of the Mafia world. Michael Mancuso, hardened by prison and ambitious for power, quickly became a notable figure in the Bonanno family. His rise began as an enforcer navigating the dangerous world of mob politics with a penchant for brutality. His ruthlessness earned him a promotion to captain, giving him significant authority and respect. As captain, Mancuso ruled with an iron fist, protecting the family's interests and dealing swiftly with enemies. His reputation grew, and his nickname, Mikey Nose, became synonymous with fear and respect. As the new millennium approached, the Bonanno family faced challenges from law enforcement and rival factions. Recognizing Mancuso's leadership qualities, the family appointed him acting boss when the former leader was arrested. In 2004, Mancuso orchestrated the murder of Randolph Pitolo, a reckless associate, solidifying his reputation as a formidable leader. Despite being sentenced to 15 years in prison in 2008, Mancuso's influence remained strong within the family. In 2013, while still incarcerated, Manuso was named the official boss of the Bonanno family. Upon his release in 2019, he quickly restructured the organization, removing those who opposed him and appointing loyalists to key positions. Mancuso balanced traditional revenue streams like loan sharking and gambling with new opportunities to ensure the family's prosperity. His leadership aimed to secure the Bonanno family's future in a changing world of organized crime. In an effort to secure the Bonanno family's future in a rapidly changing world of organized crime, Michael Manuso found himself on the wrong side of the law once again in 2020. He was arrested for violating the terms of his supervised release by associating with known criminals, resulting in an 11-month prison sentence. This setback underscored the volatile nature of leading a mafia family. As Mancuso serves his time, the Bonanno family's future remains uncertain. Meanwhile, Robert Donofrio, a feared enforcer, continues to dominate the New York underworld. Despite his violent tendencies, Donofrio remains at large. His rise began during the early 1990s amidst the violent Colombo family war. In 1991, he made a pivotal decision to switch sides, aligning himself with the faction loyal to the official boss, Carmine Jr. Persico. This move showcased his strategic acumen and understanding of the family's power dynamics. Donofrio's loyalty to the Persico faction came at a cost, involving him in plots to eliminate key figures of the rival Arena faction. Ironically, it was Victor Little Vic Arena who had originally inducted Donofrio into the Colombo family. The internal strife within the family pitted former friends against each other. According to an FBI report, Donofrio was part of a hit team that twice attempted to assassinate William Wild Bill Cutolo, a prominent member of the opposition. The first attempt, planned for Thanksgiving Day in 1991, involved hitmen disguised as Hasidic Jews armed with machine guns and bulletproof vests. But the plan was ultimately aborted by the faction's leadership. In 1992, Donofrio's fate took a decisive turn when he, along with others, pleaded guilty to conspiracy to commit murder. The court proceedings painted a grim picture of his chosen life. Brooklyn federal judge the Fay, Leo Glasser, acknowledging the extent of the crimes, sentenced those convicted at trial to 13 years and those who pleaded guilty, like Little Robert, to 8 years behind bars. Upon his release from prison in July 2000, Donofrio did not retreat into obscurity. Instead, he re-established himself within the family. His connections to both the Persico and Arena factions positioned him as a unifying figure within the Colombo crime family. Following a federal racketeering case that saw 14 guilty pleas, including that of the reputed boss-in-waiting Theodore "Skinny" Teddy Persico, the stage was set for Little Robert's rise to acting boss. His appointment marked a new chapter for the Colombos, where the lessons of the past would shape future strategies. Operating under the radar, Donofrio has absolute control over the family's business. He oversees various rackets, from loan sharking and gambling to more sophisticated realms of white-collar crime. His ability to adapt to the changing dynamics of the criminal world while maintaining the family's core operations speaks to his acumen as a leader. The respect Little Robert commands is evident in how he has managed to avoid legal entanglements that have ensnared other Mafia members. This ability to evade the law while steering the family's course highlights his tactical discretion. Donofrio's influence is also reflected in the loyalty he inspires among his associates. His long-standing relationships within the family, including ties to both the Persico and Arena factions, have fostered a sense of unity that has been elusive in the past. This unity has shielded the family from infiltration by undercover law enforcement agents, ensuring Little Robert's continued reign and freedom. Dominico Cialo, also known as the Quiet Don, has a tale that begins in the bustling streets of Palermo, Sicily, where he was born in 1947. Amid the post-war turmoil, Cialo's life was set on a path that would eventually lead him to the United States, where he would become deeply entrenched in the world of organized crime. Upon arriving in the US, Cialo quickly found himself drawn into the Gambino crime family's vast network, a name synonymous with power and fear. The family was expanding its empire, with heroin smuggling being one of their most lucrative operations. With his Sicilian roots and growing ambition, Cialo soon became a key player in this dangerous game. In 1982, Cialo was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but this did little to diminish his influence within the Gambino family. Upon his release, he was formally inducted as a made man in the 1990s, marking his full acceptance into the family's fold. Under the mentorship of Captain Pasquale "Patsy" Conte, Cialo honed his skills, proving himself to be a formidable operator within the Sicilian Zip crew. His influence spread throughout the boroughs of Queens and Brooklyn, where he orchestrated various illicit activities, from loan sharking to gambling rings. By 2005, Cialo had reached the upper echelons of the family's power structure. Recognized for his potential by street boss Jackie D'Amico, a former ally of the infamous John Gotti, Cialo was appointed as the family's underboss. This role was more than just a title. It was a mandate to oversee the operations of the Sicilian faction within the Gambino family, a task he undertook with a strategic mind and an iron fist. Maintaining a facade of legitimacy by living with his mother and working at a bakery company, Cialo's true power lay in the shadows. His influence and control over the family's operations continued to grow, earning him the respect and loyalty of his peers. Despite being under the radar of law enforcement agencies for several years, Cialo managed to evade capture, showcasing his tactical acumen and the unity he fostered within the family. Cialo's story is one of resilience and strategic brilliance, navigating the treacherous waters of organized crime while maintaining an unassuming public persona. His ability to adapt to the changing dynamics of the criminal world while ensuring the family's core operations thrived speaks volumes about his leadership skills and the respect he commands within the underworld. In July 2011, with Peter Gotti behind bars, the Gambino family sought a leader capable of steering them away from their past mistakes. Dominico Cialo emerged as their choice, marking a return to traditional Mafia leadership that emphasized consolidated power under a single, unchallengeable boss. Cialo's reign was pivotal, signifying a return to an era where the boss's word was law and loyalty was paramount. His journey from the streets of Palermo to the pinnacle of one of America's most feared criminal organizations left an indelible mark on the world of organized crime. Turning to another significant figure, Liborio Barney Bellomo exemplifies calculated leadership within the Mafia. Rising through the Genovese family ranks, Bellomo was inducted into La Cosa Nostra at just 20 years old, sponsored by Vincent Caffaro, who recognized his potential as a future leader. By the early 1980s, Bellomo led the 116th Street Crew, a faction involved in various illicit activities, including gambling and labor racketeering. His influence extended into the New York City District Council of Carpenters, showcasing his ability to manipulate and control labor unions for the family's benefit. Bellomo's approach to Mafia business was marked by discretion. Eschewing the spotlight, he often met with associates in secluded locations, dressed in unassuming attire. This penchant for low-profile operations became a hallmark of his leadership, allowing him to navigate the criminal underworld with a degree of anonymity. Under his stewardship, the Genovese family's influence in the construction industry flourished. Bellomo became a key player in shaping New York City's skyline, with his reach extending to the Jacob K. Javits Convention Center, where he strategically placed loyal crew members in key union positions, further solidifying his control over the city's construction rackets. Despite his control, Bellomo's empire faced significant challenges. His rise to power involved a series of ruthless maneuvers, including a dispute with Little Italy captain Peter Defoe. Bellomo's strategic skills were evident as he took control of Bronx Carpenters Local 17, eliminating Defoe's influence and solidifying his own. However, law enforcement was closing in. On June 11, 1996, Bellomo was indicted under the Racketeer-Influenced and Corrupt Organizations (RICO) Act, facing charges of murder, extortion, and labor racketeering. The indictment highlighted Bellomo's extensive criminal reach, including the murders of mobsters Ralph D. Simone and Antonio Lorenzo, both suspected informants. Despite attempts to evade justice, including passing polygraph tests, Bellomo's fate was sealed. Overwhelmed by evidence, he struck a deal with prosecutors, pleading guilty to extorting payoffs from a construction union and a garbage hauling company, resulting in a 10-year prison sentence. This was a major blow to Bellomo and the Genovese family, but it did not diminish his influence or the fear he commanded among associates and adversaries. Upon his release from prison on December 1, 2008, Bellomo returned to a changed landscape of organized crime. Yet, the Genovese family's operations continued to thrive under his alleged leadership. His return marked a strategic consolidation of control and reaffirmed his influence within the family's ranks. Victor Amuso, known as Little Vic, also exemplifies ruthless leadership. As the iron-fisted leader of the Lucchese crime family, Amuso's reign in the late 20th century marked one of the most violent chapters in the history of the American Mafia. Drawn to the Lucchese family as a young man, Amuso's ambition and brutality earned him rapid promotion. The 1980s saw a power shift within the Lucchese family after the death of boss Anthony Corallo. Amuso, along with his enforcer Anthony "Gaspipe" Casso, navigated the family's internal politics with a mix of cunning and violence. By the late 1980s, Amuso had ascended to the pinnacle of power, becoming the boss of the Lucchese family. Amuso's tenure was marked by a relentless pursuit of power and wealth, often at the expense of human life. Under his command, the Lucchese family engaged in various criminal enterprises, including the lucrative garment district racket and construction industry bid rigging. However, his downfall began in the early 1990s, when law enforcement, armed with RICO statutes, intensified their focus on the Mafia. After becoming a fugitive in 1991, Amuso was eventually captured in Pennsylvania. His trial revealed the extent of the Lucchese family's criminal activities, leading to a life sentence without parole. Amuso's reign had a profound impact, with his leadership style leaving a legacy of violence and corruption. His conviction, alongside other Mafia bosses, marked a turning point in the fight against organized crime, demonstrating the effectiveness of RICO laws in dismantling Mafia power structures. The death of boss Anthony Corallo created a seismic shift within the Lucchese family, leaving a power vacuum that was quickly filled by his longtime associate and enforcer, Anthony "Gaspipe" Casso and Victor Amuso. By the late 1980s, Amuso had maneuvered his way through the family's internal politics with a blend of shrewdness and brutality, ultimately rising to the pinnacle of power as the new boss of the Lucchese family. Amuso's leadership was characterized by a relentless pursuit of power and wealth, often at the expense of human life and societal order. His authoritarian style and diverse criminal activities left a lasting impact on countless individuals both within and outside the sphere of organized crime. Under Amuso's command, the Lucchese family engaged in a myriad of criminal enterprises. One of the most lucrative was the garment district racket, where the family exerted control over trucking routes and labor unions, siphoning off millions of dollars through extortion and kickbacks. The construction industry was another domain where the Lucchese family's influence was felt, as they manipulated the market to their advantage through bid rigging and control of construction unions. However, Amuso's downfall began in the early 1990s when law enforcement agencies, armed with RICO statutes, intensified their scrutiny of the Mafia. Several of Amuso's underlings were arrested, putting the family's activities under intense scrutiny. In 1991, Amuso himself became a fugitive after being indicted on multiple charges, including murder and racketeering. The net around Amuso tightened when his trusted enforcer, Anthony "Gaspipe" Casso, was captured. Facing life in prison, Casso turned informant and provided the government with damning evidence against Amuso. This betrayal from within his inner circle was a significant blow to Amuso's power and signaled the beginning of the end of his reign. After nearly a year on the run, Amuso was finally apprehended in Pennsylvania. His trial became a media spectacle, revealing the extensive criminal activities of the Lucchese family and captivating the public. Amuso was convicted on multiple charges and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The impact of Victor Amuso's criminal empire was profound, leaving a legacy of violence and corruption that resonated throughout society. His conviction, along with those of other mafia bosses, marked a turning point in the fight against organized crime, demonstrating the effectiveness of RICO laws in dismantling mafia power structures. Victor Amuso's conviction sent shockwaves through the criminal underworld, marking a significant victory for law enforcement and a turning point in the fight against organized crime. As the leader of the Lucchese crime family, Amuso's reign was characterized by rampant violence and corruption, leaving businesses and communities in disarray. His empire, built on extortion, drugs, and murder, profoundly impacted society, challenging the rule of law and instilling fear. Amuso's capture and life sentence were pivotal moments, demonstrating the efficacy of RICO laws in dismantling mafia operations. Alongside other notorious figures like Matteo Messina Denaro, his downfall highlighted the relentless pursuit of justice by authorities determined to dismantle the mafia's power. Denaro, known as Diabolik, remains a fugitive, his name evoking fear even among seasoned criminals. Born in Castellammare del Golfo, Sicily, Denaro's criminal career spans decades. Despite evading capture since 1993, his influence has only grown, extending across continents. His empire thrives on extortion, money laundering, and drug trafficking, amassing a fortune that rivals legitimate tycoons. Denaro's notoriety is not just for his illicit activities, but also for his ruthless violence. He is implicated in numerous murders, including the infamous bombings in Rome, Florence, and Milan in the early 1990s, which killed 10 people and injured many more. These acts of terror were a stark message to the Italian government, showcasing the mafia's reach and brutality. In 2024, Denaro's network reportedly collaborates with South American cartels, funneling cocaine into Europe and using the Mediterranean as a gateway for narcotics. His operations extend into legal businesses, from renewable energy to large-scale agriculture, laundering illicit gains and fortifying his power. The search for Denaro has been a long saga of near misses and false leads. For 3 decades, Italian authorities have played a cat-and-mouse game with this elusive figure. His ability to blend into society and vanish without a trace has only added to his legend, making him a ghostly figure haunting the corridors of justice. Denaro's actions have far-reaching implications, influencing economies, politics, and society's fabric. Businesses under his control manipulate market dynamics, while the fear he instills ensures silence and compliance. Despite his absence from the public eye, Denaro continues to wield immense power, shaping the fate of thousands from the shadows. Within the shadowy world of global organized crime, figures like Shinobu Tsukasa and Dominico Cialo dominate the landscape with their strategic minds and ruthless control. Shinobu Tsukasa, also known as Kichi Shinoda, is the reputed godfather of the Yamaguchi-gumi, Japan's largest Yakuza family. His rise to power is a tale of loyalty, violence, and strategic maneuvering within the complex hierarchy of the Yakuza. Under his leadership, the Yamaguchi-gumi has expanded from traditional rackets like gambling and extortion to sophisticated ventures such as stock market manipulation and cybercrime. Tsukasa's ability to maintain a low profile has helped him evade law enforcement while continuing to oversee vast criminal enterprises. His leadership style, marked by quiet intimidation and calculated moves, ensures the Syndicate's survival and prosperity despite crackdowns by Japanese authorities. Meanwhile, Dominico Cialo has quietly transformed the 'Ndrangheta into one of the world's most powerful and insidious criminal syndicates. Known for his strategic mind and ruthless efficiency, Cialo has overseen the group's expansion into international drug trafficking, becoming one of the world's largest importers of cocaine. The 'Ndrangheta's structure, based on familial ties and blood oaths, makes it incredibly difficult for law enforcement to infiltrate. This unique organizational setup has allowed the 'Ndrangheta to outpace other Italian crime groups, establishing itself as a dominant force in the global narcotics market. Both Tsukasa and Cialo's stories reflect the dark underbelly of society that continues to evolve, challenging the boundaries of law enforcement and international security. Their ability to blend traditional criminal activities with modern tactics underscores the ongoing threat posed by organized crime in the 21st century. The Mafia boss wields immense power, presiding over the Syndicate's activities with an iron fist. His ability to maintain unity among the various clans has been crucial to the organization's stability and growth. Under his leadership, the Syndicate has diversified its criminal portfolio, engaging in money laundering, arms trafficking, and high-stakes financial crimes. They have infiltrated legitimate businesses, including the construction and hospitality industries, using them as fronts for their criminal operations. The Syndicate's influence extends into politics, with allegations of corrupting public officials to protect their interests. Nevertheless, the leader's reign has not been without its challenges. The government has launched numerous operations to combat the Syndicate's influence, resulting in significant arrests and seizures. However, the Syndicate's decentralized nature and the leader's strategic acumen have allowed them to weather these storms and continue their illicit activities largely unscathed. The impact of the Syndicate's criminal activities on society has been profound. Their operations have a corrosive effect on the rule of law, undermining trust in public institutions and fueling a cycle of violence and corruption. The wealth accumulated through their activities has given them a level of power that rivals that of the state, challenging the very foundations of democracy. Sammy Gravano, another modern mafia boss, mastered the art of loyalty and betrayal. Known as the Bull, Gravano's life reads like a crime thriller. From a scrappy Brooklyn kid to a feared underboss in the notorious Gambino crime family, he committed murders as a young adult and went on to become one of the most infamous government witnesses in history, bringing down the Teflon Don, John Gotti. Gravano's tale is one of betrayal, power, and survival, marking him as a significant figure in the annals of organized crime. As a young boy, he relied on his fists to communicate, quickly earning the nickname Sammy the Bull. His journey into organized crime began with the Colombo crime family, where he ran errands and proved his loyalty. However, it was with the Gambino crime family, one of New York's notorious 5 families, that Sammy Gravano found his true calling. Under the guidance of mob bosses like Carlo Gambino and later Paul Castellano, Gravano's reputation as a ruthless and efficient earner grew. He delved into loan sharking, hijacking, and extortion, but it was in the construction industry that Gravano truly left his mark, using intimidation and mob connections to secure lucrative contracts and control labor unions. Gravano's dedication and effectiveness earned him a full initiation into the Mafia, along with the responsibility of carrying out the family's dirty work. Following the infamous assassination of Paul Castellano outside Sparks Steakhouse, John Gotti rose to power, and Gravano was right by his side, promoted to underboss, the second-in-command of the Gambino family. While the media dubbed Gotti the Teflon Don for his ability to avoid convictions, it was Gravano's shrewdness and brutality that solidified their reign. The empire that Gravano helped build became as formidable as it was feared, yet its foundations were more fragile than they appeared. By the early 1990s, changes began to sweep through New York, carrying whispers of betrayal that would shake the Gambino family to its core. Gravano's world started to crumble when law enforcement finally caught up with John Gotti, along with Gravano and other high-ranking family members, arresting them on charges ranging from murder to racketeering. Faced with the prospect of life in prison, Gravano was confronted with a grim reality for his years of loyal service to the Mafia. When damning tapes surfaced of Gotti speaking ill of him, Gravano made a decision that would forever alter the course of organized crime history. In a stunning move, Gravano agreed to become a government witness, turning his back on the omerta, the sacred code of silence that had governed his life. His cooperation was a treasure trove for the government. His inside knowledge of the inner workings of the Gambino family was unparalleled. Gravano's testimony became the cornerstone of the government's case against Gotti, leading to a historic conviction that dismantled a significant part of the Mafia's power structure. The trial was a media circus, with every revelation from Grano making headlines across the country. In the end, Gotti received life without the possibility of parole, effectively ending the reign of the Teflon Don. However, Grano's actions were not without consequences, as the Mafia never forgave him. The price on his head showed the depth of the betrayal felt by his former brothers in arms. Grano's family was forced to live with the stigma and danger associated with his cooperation. The man who had once been a respected and feared mobster was now a pariah, living in the shadows and constantly looking over his shoulder. The bull had gored the Mafia, and nothing would be the same again. Sammy Grano, Dominico Cialo, Shinobu Tsukasa, Matteo Messina, Denaro, Victor Amuso, Liborio Bellomo, Dominico Cialo, Robert Donofrio, Michael Manuso, and Semian Movich. They may be the deadliest of them all, but these Mafia bosses had one thing in common. They never imagined their lives behind bars. They were certain their script would always go according to plan. This video further highlights the challenges faced by governments worldwide in combating the scourge of narcotics and the evolving tactics of the criminal underworld. If you found this video informative and want to stay updated on the latest in the crime scene, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like this video, push the bell icon for notifications, and share it with your friends. Thank you for watching.